Hello, and welcome to Reach Canada's webinar on bullying and cyberbullying and how these issues affect people with disabilities. Reach Canada is a non-profit charitable organization based in Ottawa, Ontario, whose mission is to provide educational programs and independent lawyer referral services that address the rights and interests of people with disabilities, fostering access to justice in our community.
Bullying is defined as a pattern of aggressive behavior that causes hurt or discomfort to individuals or groups. Cyberbullying involves taking bullying practices online using information technology.
Bullying often occurs when there is a power imbalance, and such an imbalance may derive from perceived differences such as disabilities.
We've partnered with experts in the local community to look further into these issues.
Hi, my name's Allan Hubley. I'm the councillor for Canada South in Ottawa, but I'm also the father of the late Jamie Hubley, who we lost in 2011. And since losing my 15-year-old son in 2011 to suicide after years of bullying caused him to lose hope, I have spoke to many parents and children who want to stop bullying in our communities.
Hi, my name is Tracy Vaillancourt. I'm a full professor and Canada Research Chair in Children's Mental Health and Violence Prevention at the University of Ottawa, where I'm cross-appointed in the Faculty of Education and also in the School of Psychology.
Bullying is an unwanted, aggressive behavior that involves a real or perceived power imbalance.
Bullying is defined as repeated negative behavior that's intentional, and it's directed at somebody who has less power. So we tend to think about three definitional criteria, so intentionality, repetition, and power imbalance. Now, the difference between traditional bullying, so things that happen at school or in the workplace, and cyberbullying is just the avenue in which it's taking place. So cyberbullying takes place on the internet or through text messaging and the like, and traditional bullying takes place face-to-face. It's increasing quite a bit just because we tend to communicate more online than we ever have.
Absolutely. Today's youth have a lot more knowledge of the world, and because they do, our youth are more accepting of each other's differences. Hate, like bullying, is a learned behavior, so a better way of living is possible through knowledge.
I think we tend to think that people who with a disability would be particularly vulnerable to being bullied, but the truth of the matter is that bullying is indiscriminate. So everybody seems to get bullied for a whole bunch of different reasons, and disability is included within that, but it's not the main reason people bully others.
I think one of the biggest barriers is engaging the bystander. This is the key to reducing the amount of bullying that's being tolerated today. When the bystander becomes part of the equation, everything changes. The bully loses power, the victim feels safer, and no longer alone, and is hope.
A lot of people suffer in silence. They think that people, so for example, children think that adults are going to screw up the situation and make it even worse. Adults are worried about retaliation. So if they're being bullied in the workplace, they're worried that the person who's oppressing them is going to get everybody against them, and it's just going to make their lives even worse than what it already is. So I think there are a lot of barriers, and I think they're similar to some of the barriers that's attached to mental health issues, where there's the stigma that's there. So people feel stigmatized when they're bullied, they're embarrassed, and I think that makes them vulnerable and makes it so that they're perhaps not the best advocate that they could be.
That's a secret you don't want to keep. So you know, if the first person you talk to can't help you, you've got to talk to somebody else. And you know, it could be parents, it could be siblings, could be friends, could be a stranger, but you've got to talk to somebody, so you're not alone.
If it's within the context of schools, we have Bill 13 in Ontario that would protect students from this type of abuse. So if you're being bullied, I really, really strongly encourage you to talk to your principal, and your principal is mandated by law to make this better.
Bill 13, which ended up becoming basically the 2012 Accepting Schools Act, was really based on enhancing the protections that are provided now under the Human Rights Act. In other words, certain groups of children would get good protection. It was going to give the school principals the ability to expel, which at that point they did not have, in the case of bullying.
If you're an adult being bullied, it's a little bit more complicated. Now, sometimes the bullying actually is a human rights violation. Sometimes it's actually criminal in the sense that it's criminally harassing. So there are legal avenues you can take. But one thing I think we fail to do when we're being bullied is to document it. And I think you should document everything. This isn't going to resolve on its own, I don't think, for most. And so I really think you're going to need help. You're going to need the help of a trusted adult, the help of a lawyer perhaps, the help from police, the help from a coworker.
What Bill 14, which was the additional bill being considered at the time, what that provided was more statistics, the ability to collect information on how many cases of bullying, what was being done about the bullying, and I think one of the reasons that didn't go forward to be part of the act was that would give parents the ability to know how good a school is doing in protecting their children. And to me, that was critical information and should have been included in that bill. So, sorry, I personally, and I think a lot of other parents, will not be satisfied until there is that kind of information available to us.
Thinking about bullying in its definition, it's about an abuse of power, a systematic abuse of power. The person who's being bullied doesn't have the advocacy skills to stop the abuse, so it behooves people who are witnessing it to stand up. And I know for a fact there's empirical evidence to support this. If we stood up for each other a little more, we would reduce the burden significantly.
And my answer is to support them in every possible way. This may mean going to the school, making sure officials are aware of the issue and are dealing with it in a way that your child is safe and feels safe. If their self-esteem is already damaged, we as parents have to help restore it so that our children know they are good people who just happen to be a target of someone, and often they did nothing wrong to deserve the attack. Encouraging our children to try to develop a safety plan is one option. If they can plan their day where friends and other parents are present and other people, if they feel threatened, and having the right numbers to call for help are all good steps in a safety plan. It all starts and ends with good communication. Talking to our kids about their day and observing changes in their behaviors, such as becoming withdrawn, loss of appetite, or not wanting to go to school or a particular activity, are all these signs help us monitor their well-being.
Here are some resources for those targeted by bullying or anyone wishing to seek more information about the topic.
For more information about Reach Canada, please visit our website at www.reach.ca.